You've probably heard that you can skip probate on your house with one form. That's partly true. Colorado does have a tool like that. Here's what most people don't hear about it, what it actually covers, and what it leaves completely unprotected. The tool is called a beneficiary deed, in some other states called a transfer on death deed, and in Florida, it's called a ladybird deed. It lets you name a beneficiary for a specific piece of real estate so that property passes directly to them when you die without going through probate court. It sounds like the complete answer. For a lot of families, it becomes the only planning to do because it's simple, it's inexpensive, and it feels like it solves the whole problem. It doesn't. And the gap between what people assume a beneficiary deed does and what it actually does is exactly where families end up back in court anyway. Here's what a beneficiary deed genuinely does well. It transfers that one piece of real estate directly to your named beneficiary outside of probate, and you can change that beneficiary at any time while you're alive. Here's what it doesn't do. It doesn't cover incapacity. A beneficiary deed only activates at death. If you become unable to manage your affairs before that, it does nothing. You still need a power of attorney for incapacity, and that's a completely separate document. It doesn't handle contingencies. What happens if your named beneficiary passes away before you do? What if you want the property split between multiple people, each with different conditions? A beneficiary deed handles one straightforward transfer. It wasn't built for complexity. It doesn't account for blended families. If you have stepchildren, a former spouse, or a current spouse with a claim to marital property, a beneficiary deed on its own can create the same gaps we've talked about earlier in this series, because it's one document working in isolation. And it doesn't cover anything beyond that specific property. Your accounts, your other assets, your final wishes for health care and finances all sit outside of the beneficiary deed entirely. Think of it as one tool in a toolbox, not the whole thing. Families who rely on it alone often find out the hard way, usually when a family member ends up in that same probate court process they were trying to avoid, just for a different asset. If you already have a beneficiary deed in place, or you're considering one, the next useful step is to make sure it actually fits with the rest of your plan, not standing alone as your only plan. Start with a call, and we'll look at the full picture together. Your property, your family structure, and whether a beneficiary deed is genuinely the right fit or just one piece of a larger plan you still need. If you've watched this series and enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. We put out a new video every week, walking through exactly what Colorado does and doesn't do for your family. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.